Hello, hello, hello. I am Reverend Sharon, Unity Minister, and I want to welcome you to this week's Sunday Inspiration. And this week I want to talk about something that for some of you may be controversial, and I think it's controversial for all of us, but I'm going to go there, and I just want you to be open. And if I push a button, then I need you to ask yourself, why does that feel like that button's being pushed, and what in me is resisting what I'm hearing? All right, so this is June. We have Pride Month, we have Juneteenth, and both of these are about celebrating diversity. They're about celebrating inclusivity. And Unity has strong statements on Juneteenth and for diversity, for celebrating the LGBTQIA community, as well as statements for women's reproductive rights. And so where I'm going with this is, in order for our world to find peace, for it to become settled and harmony, we have to have that unconditional love. And that's something that I've been talking about. And we have to have that kindness in our heart. So that means that in order to do that, we have to be willing to love people where they're at, if they're in our belief system, if they're out of our belief system, if they're wanting to grow, if they're not wanting to grow. But in order to bring healing to the world, in order to bring love and peace, we have to come through the place of unconditional love. Loving God, loving our neighbors as much as we love ourselves, and how do we want to be treated. But here's the thing, is that right now our nation is at serious odds. It's trying to separate people. It's trying to make that rich white man have power over us. And we are falling into it like sheep being led. So I have a friend of mine who calls it sheeple. So we're sheeple, following just what it says. But when we start taking away the education rights, when we start taking away people's rights to have the body that they want to be able to marry who they want to marry, to be able to live the way that they want to live, to be able to vote as is their right, when we start separating all of these things and forcing women to not be allowed to have abortions if it is their right, we are stepping into a place of judgment. We are not going into the unthinkable place of unconditional love. And all of these things coming up is a way for us to even go further into love by having acceptance and saying, yes, in order to make the world great, we have to change. And wow, this really is uncomfortable, because everything that I believe, now I'm finding like there are other things that may be true that is just really hard for me to accept. But growth is important. And it's not about staying where we were. If it was about staying where we were, we would not be allowed technology. We would have just stayed in that box. And spirituality is about growth. We're always talking about growing spiritually. And I want to tell you that when people choose to be in the LGBTQ community, they don't wake up one day and say, I think I'll be gay, and see how that affects people in my life. No, it's something that they have had within them, that divine within them is telling them that they're okay and to be who they are. And so what they're doing is they're giving us another opportunity to grow and to expand, and they are leaders of change because they're being true to them. Now, the sad part is you hear these horror stories that they're not accepted, so the suicide rate is very, very high, especially along young transgender and the young gay community, that people are taking their own lives because there is no love and acceptance, because they're being told that they're bad, because they're different. From my perspective, they are stepping into ownership of who they are, and that's love of themselves, or the desire to love themselves and to be who it is that they need to be. Unity supports that. Unity supports these wonderful things. And I'm going to ask you to be open to supporting these things as well, and to also giving thanks. We give thanks to our veterans for the services they've done. But this time in our life is important to understand, are we going into a world of slavery? We're bringing it back. Oh, is that what making it great is? It's like, having people with money and power and people without money as slaves, and keeping people uneducated, keeping women barefoot and pregnant. Is that the direction that we really want to go? And I can tell you that in our lifetime, where we're at right now, some of us have not had that experience. But I don't want to find out what that experience is. I want the right to grow. I want the right to love others as they are. So let's see through that lens of love. Let's go to that place of the unthinkable to embrace change, to embrace growth, so our world can be a better place. So thank you for Pride Month. Thank you for standing in your divinity and in your truth and teaching all of us how to listen to the Christ within. Thank our wonderful leaders and people for seeing that there is truth in the world and it is love that should prevail. Have a beautiful day, and namaste.